Good afternoon. My name is Jessica Davis, and I have Alport Syndrome. I am 28 years old, and I currently live in Charlottesville, Virginia, where I work as a barista. Treatment for Alport Syndrome can only begin once one has a diagnosis. In my case, I exhibited symptoms of Alport Syndrome since age 3 in the form of gross hematuria and proteinuria, but did not receive an official diagnosis or begin treatment until I experienced a sudden, profound hearing loss at age 16. For some time, my hearing loss was mistaken for being selective, but once my grades started slipping, a visit to the audiologist confirmed that I had a bilateral, moderate to severe neurosensory loss, and I was given hearing aids. After confirming Alport syndrome with a second renal biopsy, my nephrologist started me on a low dosage of lisinopril with the intent of slowing the progression of kidney failure by lowering the amount of protein in my urine. Unfortunately, 3 months later, when my doctor increased the dosage of lisinopril, I experienced a severe allergic reaction that landed me in the emergency room. After recovering, I was prescribed Atacand, which ultimately served the same function as an ACE inhibitor, though through a different channel. I took Atacand for the better part of 10 years until my potassium levels were high enough that my nephrologist decided it would do more harm than good. I was in stage 4 of chronic kidney disease, and slowing the progression no longer seemed viable. Currently, my medications mostly address the physical symptoms of kidney failure. These include sodium bicarbonate, which is ultimately intended to slow the rising creatinine as my kidneys continue to lose function. I am also taking calcitriol and vitamin D2, which respectively provide me with an active and metabolized vitamin D in order to compensate for my gross deficiency. Finally, I have a prescription for pravastatin sodium, which is intended to slow the rate of declining kidney function by reducing serum cholesterol and proteinuria. I cannot confidently attest to the efficacy of any of these treatments because I have no baseline to compare them to. I do know that there were intermittent periods of 4 to 5 months where I could not afford medications without health insurance, and I felt no different without the drugs. I can also look at the chronological progression of decline in my kidney function and see a linear trend, which suggests that there's no drastic intervention that altered the course that Alport syndrome would ultimately take in me. I often wonder if the same would be true had I been diagnosed and treated before I was a teenager, which leads me to hope that the nephrology community continues to improve upon early testing and intervention strategies. Ultimately, the best treatment I've found for accepting life with Alport syndrome was learning American Sign Language and adopting a deaf identity. The deaf community leaves little room for the medical perspective, whereby hearing loss is treated as a physical handicap that limits one's ability and needs to be fixed. I will admit that this particular ideation had strong impact when I was younger and led to many problems with self-identity, including anxiety and depression. Upon learning ASL and meeting other deaf and hard of hearing peers, however, I experienced a dramatic frame shift that makes me proud to identify as deaf. Moreover, I learned that my hearing loss was actually a deaf gain, which enabled me to recognize that I had adapted other abilities that may not have come to fruition had I not lost my hearing. For example, I've learned to read lips and facial expressions quite well, and I have honed visuoperceptive skills that place me above the 99th percentile among my peers. I've come to consider my hearing loss to be the silver lining of Alport syndrome. End-stage renal disease, however, is no silver lining. Since my kidney function has worsened, I have experienced symptoms of extreme fatigue, frequent urination, sleep deprivation, nausea, leg cramps, high blood pressure, migraines, and anxiety. When I'm nauseated or vomiting, I cannot drink a Gatorade or an orange juice. I cannot ease my stomach with saltine crackers. The respective high potassium and sodium levels in these items are restricted from a kidney diet. When I have a migraine or a cramp, I cannot take Advil, Motrin, Aleve, or any sort of anti-inflammatory. I've been cautioned against taking too many acetaminophen, so I save those for the real pain and learn to live with the rest. Due to lack of available pain management, I have turned to cannabis products to alleviate many of the aforementioned symptoms. Specifically, I have found a topical CBD-infused balm that relieves the pain from leg cramps almost immediately. Similarly, when I experience a migraine due to high blood pressure, I have found that after administering a 1,500 milligram dose of a CBD tincture sublingually, I'm less inhibited by the pain, nausea, and fatigue from the migraine. However, because these supplements are not regulated, I have done so at the risk of inaccurate dosing and inconsistent quality of product. While CBD may not be able to slow the progression of kidney failure or cure Alport syndrome, there are tremendous potential benefits for alleviating the day-to-day symptoms that drastically affect quality of life for patients like myself. In the future, I hope that treatment for Alport syndrome includes more risk-free pain management, as well as some form of treatment for fatigue so that we might be able to remain active. I believe Alport syndrome patients would also benefit if we found ways to have a less restrictive diet in regards to potassium-rich fruits and vegetables. It might be easier to manage if there were binder pills like those that exist for phosphorus. Finally, I hope that treatment for Alport syndrome includes more preventative measures or some way to regenerate the cells that we've already lost without further impeding our quality of life. Thank you for listening to my testimony.